Well, it actually gets a little bit more complicated than that. Like I say, I had mining, I was mines, I was minerals, I was Lucifer, White Star Line, inventor of steamships, steam vessels, and planets and galaxies, and just on vacation. But one of the things is basically that a lot of people could speak a language, but they couldn't actually write the language or could not understand someone else's writing. So there was a difference of things. People really couldn't communicate and couldn't even read things. So somewhere around in Germany or France or something like that, I started the literacy or literate part of basically the earth, pretty much putting out the alphabet. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z. I have to remember it. I did a couple letters, and then some other people basically created the alphabet as well. There are other people that took part in it. I paid a team, of course. I was always like, we need an alphabet, So paying a team, I just did A B C D E, said it, and then other people drew up some stuff. I have teams of people that do this kind of stuff. So, plus a printing press takes quite a bit of metal, by the way. Just like a sawmill takes quite a bit of metal. Just like a train or railway takes quite a bit of metal. So does a steam engine, needs a lot of metal. So because I had mining, because I was a miner, because I like to dig, a lot of people didn't think there was a lot of metal in there for some strange reason. I was like, there's loads of metal down there. There's huge amounts, just mountains of metal down there. You just got to know how to get it and get to it. And it's all a matter of getting into the rock and melting down the rock. All rock has a little bit of what you need somewhere in there. Anyway, and somewhere around in Germany or France or whatever, my scientists were like, tick, 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 tick. They would powder up the rock material, smash the rocks into rock material, and then they would heat up a sample really, really much and see how much of it will stick together or whatever. Anyway, they started playing around with the matter of the Earth, basically. I was like, well, there's different kind of substances or particles. I mean, even though this looks like a piece of metal now. I mean, it's all just particles. It looks solid, but it's not solid. It's little bitty particles, all kind of like clinging together, like particles, basically, or something like that. It's complicated, and like I say, this was just a long time ago for me. So anyway, though, I was like, well, it's in the ground. It's in, it's all around us. They're just particles. That's all the Earth is. It's all the sun is, and that's basically, coming together, going apart, how they change and all that, just changing states of matter. Anyway, so I was like, well, you just got to take a rock, melt it down, break it up. I was like, maybe you should smash it up a bit before you melt it down, and then you will actually be able to see. And somewhere around Roman times and other times, they were heating up rocks and, and seeing what was left, or basically just and then they were able to find out the different kinds of mineral or particle amounts and all that, and they're just playing around with matter, basically, rocks and stuff. Anyway, so basically I was an inventor, and I invented some mining equipment and some steam equipment and some later on the gas turbine and gas diesel engine and the injectors for the engine, so it would run, and also the carburetor. I also invented the carburetor to allow the alcohol or the fuel in to the thing. The gas one, I mean the like the propane gas and all those others. Well, I mean an engine is pretty darn simple. It's basically you're just compressing air. It's just a compressor, and I had built or invented compressors for like undersea exploration, because I had known that there's towns, there's cities, there's mines underneath the ground. In fact, there are quite a few very profitable mines inside the ocean, way 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 deep down. They had been producing a lot of metal. Anyway, and I was wondering if they were still down there, or if they had been covered up, because there were whole cities down there. Pyramids and stuff and all kinds of stuff, whole towns. And some of the stuff I was like, well, it should still be down there, I would think, because, there's farmland down there and stuff. And, we used to do a lot of stuff down there. It was billions or trillions of years ago, but, I'm just wondering what happened to those people and all that other stuff, because, there might even be grave sites down there. And I'm just wondering, like, what happened to them, Anyway, though. there is life forms and all kinds of stuff down there. So, it was like 100 billion years ago. So, but yeah, I wanted to get back down there, and like there are ships and all kinds of stuff down there. Like I'm missing a little bit of history or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, there was even like subways and trainways that would go underneath the ice because the ice was too dangerous. It's too dangerous to go between an ice thing and a what's called thing on a regular basis because, especially with smoke and stuff, because so it's easier. And besides, there's minerals in there and stuff like that. So anyway, lots of history and stuff like that on this planet, and I go back a long, long, long ways. So anyway, so then later on, printing and the alphabet and everything else like that. And then in like 1917, they tried to say I was dead or I did die or something like that. And they tried to say that, Abraham Lincoln had adopted me and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, he didn't. He never adopted me. That was, they were doing a takeover of the country. And because I had wanted China or one of my other countries, I was like, what? No, China knows me best. And they were going to take over, not Abraham Lincoln. I don't know who the fuck that was. He was just his photographer, and I had actually even fired him. I was like, you're fired. I think there was like allegations of rape or something like that, and lewd acts or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I had fired him, and he was just a person on a photograph that, on a frame. So that's all Abraham Lincoln was. And I'll get into that in a minute, I guess.